I'm Rittika. I'm the librarian for KVRX this year, and this is season 2 of Library Picks, which is an amazing series that we do here only at KVRX, where current staff and DJs get the opportunity to choose some of their favorite albums out of our very own library and talk about what those albums mean to them, why they enjoy them so much, and why those are their library picks. And so today, these are my library picks. So my first library pick is going to be Ananda Shankar's Sargama Chan, which is a really cool album. It was released in 1981. So Ananda Shankar is the nephew of Ravi Shankar, who's a really, really well-known sitar player. And though his nephew did not really reach the level of fame that he did put together a pretty cool few albums, and this is one of my favorite of all time. This is sort of a psych funk world combination type of album. It's mainly a lot of psych, a lot of like classical Indian influences, and overall just kind of an interesting and funky album. There's a lot of funk, a lot of psych, some soul here and there. It is kind of just instrumental, and some of my favorite tracks on here are like Dancing Peacocks and Jungle Symphony. So yeah, if you're into some world psych or just looking for something new and kind of funky, this is a really good album to check out. Alright, my next pick is Open Mike Eagle's Dark Comedy. This is actually a very interesting album. This is something that I actually discovered in high school. So Open Mike Eagle, he is a Chicago-based rapper, and he self-titles his art as art rap is what his genre is, and a lot of his work is kind of a little bit darker and more political commentary. On majority of his tracks, you kind of hear that on this album. He kind of grapples with a lot of his own personal struggles with like fatherhood and just racism, but he also kind of has like a satirical take on a lot of issues that kind of plague American society today. But it's all kind of blended into kind of a dark, melodic, kind of soulful hip-hop album, which ultimately does kind of take you on this journey of like what he's feeling, but in some sense you can kind of identify with too while he's talking about it. So this is a really, really good album if you like kind of a little bit more of a darker undertone style of hip-hop, something that kind of gives you a little bit more to think about than just, you know, some cool beats. All right. My next album is Jaco Gardner's Hypnophobia. This is pretty much just an homage to very like classic psych pop of the 60s. It's kind of a fun album. It's not too serious. Jaco Gardner, he's a multi-instrumentalist. He's Dutch. He can play just about any instrument, and you can definitely hear that on this album. He has some very, very funky takes on some very classic psych pop riffs that you've heard in the past. Very reminiscent of a lot of the late 60s to like early 70s kind of stuff. He definitely takes a lot of influence from like Syd Barrett from Pink Floyd. Some of my favorite tracks on this album would probably definitely be Find Yourself and then like the title track, Hypnophobia. This is just an overall kind of like easy to listen to album. It's very psychedelic, but not in a way that's unapproachable. It's very like just a homage to what classic psych pop is and what it was, but yeah, this is a great album. Alright, and my last pick is King Cruel's self-titled King Cruel EP. This is by none other than Archie Marshall, aka King Cruel. This was his debut LP. He is a UK-based artist, and he actually released this when he was only 17 years old. But this is timeless. Most people would tell you so. It's definitely an introduction to a lot of his later work, which he does, you know, kind of again, very like a little bit deeper, a little darker, but a lot of very heavy jazz and some hip hop and funk influences at times. And this EP, though short, only 5 tracks long, is a really, really interesting window into the early days of King Cruel. And I think this is a very good album for anybody who's already a King Cruel fan or likes King Cruel or just trying to look for something a little bit more interesting and out of the norm. So yeah. And those are my library picks.